What's going on? How you doing? It's the infamous Jig John.
Biggie dreams got me juicy.
Pardon?
My train of thoughts gotta be steaming. I'm still KwakuDreaming.
Hey guys, this is Jake John and welcome to KwakuDreaming. Yeah, that's right, it's Kwaku, it's not Kwaku. Yes, how you doing people? This is Jake John, aka the educated opinionist, and today we're going to talk about marketing again. Now I think this is one of the best ways to discover narrative marketing because it's literally connected to sports and we're seeing what's happening in the industry right now, in the sports industry. So it's all very exciting at the moment. There's some massive things happening with Kawhi Leonard. If you don't know who Kawhi Leonard is, Kawhi Leonard is the other greatest player in the league now. There's about there's like a top three right now. I mean, there were some amazing players on there, but the ones who we could definitively say, okay, any given person could say this is the number one player, right? And they have three people to choose from, really, that you know you're not going to be despised and spat on for saying. One of them is LeBron James, of course. The other one is Kawhi Leonard, and the other one is Kevin Durant. Today we're going to talk about Kawhi Leonard because he made such a massive move that literally, I want to say, tipped the NBA into out of balance, but really put the NBA in balance, because instead of him stacking up with LeBron James, he decided to play his own game. Now this is interesting because what he did, I believe to be, is one of the he followed one of the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. Now I'm not saying he's read the book. It may just been a great move, but it is a great marketing move. And he may have read the book. Who knows? Yes, so I want to talk about that. This is going to be absolutely great. Hopefully you guys will get even more understanding when we talk about narrative. And if you're into basketball as well as marketing, then this is a flipping delight.
I'm still KwakuDreaming.
So I spoke a little bit about Kawhi. Kawhi won the championship with a team called Toronto last year. Now this team really had no business late into the playoffs, and they definitely didn't have any business being in the finals. They've never been able to get past LeBron James for the conference finals, and then to make it into the very end of the playoffs is unbelievable. Then to win with Kawhi Leonard just puts Kawhi Leonard on a pedestal. Now he's already got a Finals MVP. A Finals MVP, for those who don't know what it is basically the best player award in the finals, right? Within the championship, you were the best player on the court. Sorry for everybody who already knows that and you're into basketball, but we have to make sure everybody can understand. Now, let me cut to the chase because a lot of times I go round and then before I make my statement. Here's the head statement, which is the most important thing. Kawhi, in my opinion, is playing the game that LeBron should have played. He's playing the game that LeBron should have played in the first place. Now, I've always said from a marketing point of view, if I was on LeBron James' marketing team, knowing what I know now, at the beginning of his career, I would have played it completely different. Theoretically, I would have played it completely different. Now, you know, everyone can say from hindsight what was done, what they would change, but I've kind of had this strategy for a while. And the way I look at it is the moment LeBron James was compared to Michael Jordan, they should have cut that out quick. Now, I understand why they allowed him to be compared to Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. LeBron is one of the greatest players of all time, and he wants to be number one. I understand that. But there is a rule in marketing, which is if you can't be the best, create your own lane. Now, you need to understand that not only is Michael Jordan the greatest player we've ever seen, for most of us, I mean, it's always pretty much unanimous when we talk about who is the number one. It's pretty much Michael Jordan, right? But then you get different sectors who would say other people like Kareem. Some people say LeBron. Some people even say Kobe. But generally, like, he's like, Michael Jordan is the Michael Jackson. You know, if you're going to say who's the biggest pop star of all time, Michael Jordan is the Michael Jackson of basketball, right? So it's basically definitively Michael Jordan. That's really hard to go against. It's really hard to compete against somebody who's in people's minds. Now remember, I actually said in the last podcast, I said, people don't always remember what you look like, and they might not remember your pretty face. They may not remember your name. They may not remember how many kids you got, but they always remember how you make them feel. And human beings work in such a way that we might not even remember definitively why we don't like a person or why we really do like a person. It's just when we're with them, they give us a warm feeling. Our bodies pretty much have two memories. We have the memory which is a mental memory, which can be forgotten, but then we have the one that stains like forever, unless you do some deep counseling, and that is the one that your heart remembers, right? And obviously that can be very positive as well, you know. Yeah, so the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, one of the main rules is if you cannot be the best creator in lane. LeBron, I don't care how good he is, he cannot compete against Michael Jordan. And I'm not talking about talent right now. I'm talking about what Michael Jordan has done is Michael Jordan has arguably had a perfect career, right? We know it's not perfect because he's human, right? However, it's really hard to see his imperfections. One argument that people have tried to use against Jordan is, oh, he didn't shoot as many threes as a LeBron James or of course a Steph Curry. But the other argument to that is neither did Larry Bird, who's arguably the greatest shooter of all time. The fact is nobody was shooting threes. And there is enough evidence to show that when it comes to a Larry Bird, a LeBron, a Kobe, a Jordan, a Kareem, these are the type of players where you don't limit them to what they didn't do, because you know that they've mastered basketball within itself. Whatever they needed to learn, they would learn. So it's an unfair battle. It's an unfair battle. But Jordan has been so awesome, so unbelievable, that it's perceivably a perfect career. He retired at the right time, came back at the right time, and every time he came back, he showed that he was definitively the best player in the league. I mean, winning 3 championships in a row, retired, winning another 3 championships in a row, just demolishing everyone. It's ridiculous. That's what LeBron's competing against. Then you've got to take into account Space Jam. You take into account the Jordan brand, sports brand, clothing brand, which is just, it's even bigger than Michael Jordan now. It's just Jordan. People who never played basketball before have Jordans, and they're ridiculously expensive. It's just the legacy is just incredible. Now, it was just a lose-lose battle from the beginning for LeBron to go up against, to put LeBron up against Michael Jordan. It was a lose-lose situation from the beginning. There was no chance. And this is not a dig at LeBron's talent. It's not about talent. It's about the full package and the indelible mark that Michael Jordan has left in our hearts as the greatest player of all time, right? And that being said, LeBron hasn't beaten Jordan on the court either. So there was no chance. LeBron was way too young at this time. He was like 18 years old. I didn't expect him to do anything different. But what his PR should have done is told LeBron, whenever they compare you against Jordan, say, hey, do you know what? Jordan's amazing. He's my favorite player. However, I do like my playing more to a Magic Johnson. Because Magic Johnson, for those of you who don't know Magic Johnson is larger than life. He's amazing. He's actually as big off the court as he was on the court. He was a player that played mostly in the 80s, and he won 5 championships. He's one of the greatest players of all time, but he plays more similar to LeBron James. LeBron James is a player who likes to share the ball more, and is a floor general, and more of a leader in that sense, where he's always taking the ball up the court. He had the ball more than anybody else. LeBron is similar to that type of player, but he can play more positions. He's bigger, he's stronger, not necessarily taller, but he's bigger, he's stronger, and faster, and has, I don't know if he's got better handles. Magic's pretty much had amazing handles. And LeBron can shoot better than Magic. So he would have come into the league with actually more talented than Magic already, even though he still hasn't got 5 championships and Magic does have 5 championships. He would have came into the league more talented. just faster from a physical point of view, then he already would have won the race. Now, as he's pushing away from Jordan and saying, no, I love Jordan, but he's not my type of game, you automatically have in people's minds that he has to be separated. This is LeBron, he's in his own lane, and now he's comparing himself to Magic, who's the other greatest player of all time, but he's so much better than Magic. He's like, and then you're not going up against this unbeatable legacy, because it already has been beaten by Michael Jordan. That being said, Magic has his own lane as well, which is the greatest point guard of all time and will never be taken away from him. So even that wasn't debunked completely by Jordan, because Magic has its own lane. So it's just so important to have your own lane. This goes back into when I was talking about gifts and talents. This goes back into marketing and business. If you're yourself, if you have your own lane, you don't have to compete. You don't have to compete if you've got your own lane. Like Magic I don't see him fight and say, no, I'm the greatest player of all time. He's no good. But when it comes to the greatest point guard of all time, he's up there. And he's also up there in the greatest players of all time, as far as the top 5 for pretty much everyone. So that's how the game should have been played, in my opinion. Yes, so putting that into practice. I mean, in the book, it speaks about brands like, I think it was Colgate, the toothpaste. I'm not doing the research for this, sorry, because I'm more focused on LeBron and sports. But they looked at companies like Colgate, the toothpaste, and they looked at all of these brands and all of these products, and they realized that the biggest brands were always the first. And even if they weren't the first, maybe they were second or the third, they were the longest lasting, because maybe the rest ran out of money or something, but they were the longest lasting. So they had this indelible mark in people's heads as almost the definition of that device or that product, right? So when I think of toothpaste, I do think of Colgate. I might not even buy Colgate sometimes. I don't actually, the funny thing is I don't actually use Colgate. However, Colgate is the number one toothpaste that's going to come into my mind, and that's because it was the first. So some of these people trump the other first, the other people in their lanes. Some people just create their own lane and just create their own marketing strategy to make them stand out, and then they don't have to be compared, if that makes sense. And take up your advice to reach further than the skies. Many lose the game of life because they refuse to roll the... Okay, so what's very interesting about this marketing rule is the idea, and it's actually a very factual idea, that if you look at the greatest products out there, the biggest ones, usually they were the first. And if they can't be the first, they either create their own lane or they trump their competition somehow. Usually they're somewhat illegal or just something unethical. Obviously, nobody's going to admit it if it's illegal. But a very good example of this is if you look at Jay-Z, right? If you look at all the people that came up with Jay-Z, you've got 4 of them who are dead, right? So if you were going to take the top 5 rappers, when people sit around, they say, who are the top 5 rappers of all time? Who do they say? Biggie, Puck, Jay-Z, they say Big L, and Big Pun. 4 of those are dead. Jay-Z's still alive. Another person they'd put in usually is Nas, and LL Cool J, who was actually there before any of them, right? So we're looking at the GOATs, right? We've got about 6-7 people max, and we could probably say right now would be the GOATs, and 4 of them are dead, right? But what's so interesting about this is if you realize none of these guys are in the mix. They're either dead or not in the mix. Why are they not in the mix? You've got LL Cool J, who's one of the first rappers out there, really, from this sort of generation. Then you've got Nas, you've got Busta Rhymes is still around, you've got DMX is not there, right? These are the only people that can give Jay-Z a run for their money when we talk about the GOAT, because nobody's going to put Kendrick Lamar as one of the GOATs. No one's going to put J. Cole as a GOAT yet. The reason they're not going to put these 2 as a GOAT is because they're too young. Like, and unless you're incredibly immature and have no respect for the people before, you're not gonna put those 2 in the GOAT conversation yet. You look at what they've done, you look at their accolades, you look at their career, and you say these guys are amazing. Let's now put them in the conversation, just like we do with any sport or anything like that. So really, the people who are going to be the GOATs in people's minds are people who have been around the longest, have been the most consistent, and are from the golden age of hip hop, right? the Tupac Biggie age of hip hop, right? Some people may say Method Man, Redman, all of these people are from that age, yeah? So if you look at what's happened to all of them, they're either dead or the rest have gone into acting or signed with different labels. Busta Rhymes went to Young Money Records. LL Cool J is a great actor. He's always been a great actor, but really serious with that now presenting as well. Who else is in there? Nas apparently had his record out, but it wasn't getting as much support. And he was being trumped somehow. And who else could be in the conversation? DMX is nowhere to be found. Now, at some point, Jay-Z was the CEO of Def Jam Records. When he became the CEO, any other rapper from his generation still around who could possibly be called a GOAT or one of the GOATs were arguably trumped. That's what I've been told. Well, Cool J couldn't get his records out. Busta Rhymes couldn't get his records out. Nas couldn't get his records out. DMX definitely couldn't get his records out, and he actually talks about it.
And had respect for him after that, until he became the president of Def Jam. And I ain't gonna say too much more about it, but you know what it is. There's a difference between doing wrong and being wrong. There's a difference between doing wrong and being wrong. And at one point, you were being wrong. But I still maintain the respect because our birthdays are the same month. And we had the history. So I maintained the respect. So I lost it when you became the president. That's why I left Def Jam.
So now you're left with Jay-Z from that golden era. He's the only one left. So by default, he is the number one guy. I'm not saying he's not a great rapper. He's one of my favorite rappers of all time. Jay-Z's one of my favorite rappers of all time, hands down. Is he better than Pac? Is he better than Big L? I wouldn't say that. But he's definitely one of my favorites, and he's on some super level, right? He's on some super level of affluence. Jay-Z has some amazing market share in our minds, but he's managed to get to that number one status, sorry, because I am British. He's managed to get to that level through his ways. Many people say he did it in unconventional, unethical ways, as in trumping his competition in ways that are not part of the competition, not part of the, it's not great sportsmanship, and for that reason, a lot of rappers hate him. But that goes along with the idea and the very sound and clearly true idea in marketing, where you have to be the first if you want to have the greatest market share. You need to be the first. If you cannot be the first, create your own lane that you can be the first in. If you cannot create your own lane that you can be the first in, then somehow you have to decapitate your enemies, and that's clearly what's happened. It's actually crazy how this all works, because I'm not going to go on this a lot, but even if I think of wrestling, I used to love wrestling. I loved The Rock. I loved Shawn Michaels. I loved DX. I loved Stone Cold Steve Austin. I loved The Rock. I loved all of them. But when I think of wrestling, when somebody talks about WWF wrestling or WWE wrestling, the first thing that comes to my mind is actually still Hulk Hogan. That's still the thing that's imprinted in my mind, because he was one of the first, and he definitely wasn't the first wrestler, but he was definitely one of the first household names. And that is the image that still comes to my mind. I had the action figures and all of that stuff. So no matter how much I love The Rock and I love Stone Cold, I love them all more than Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's still in my mind as the number one thing. So it's a very interesting concept, and it's something that you can definitely implement in your own lives. And I believe everyone can be, you can always create your own lane. And that's the point of being unique. Check out episode 3, Gifts and Talents. Now listen, how does this all relate to Kawhi Leonard? Well, Kawhi Leonard had a chance to play with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the players that whom I predicted were going to play together a year before it happened. This would have been a super team that would have clearly had the ability to win literally about 7 championships in a row. And Kawhi said, no, I want to make my own legacy. I want to create my own lane. I understand you are LeBron. I want my own lane. I don't want to be following your footsteps. So instead of going to LA Lakers, he went to the LA Clippers. The LA Clippers they're the least decorated franchise in the whole of the NBA. They have no championships or anything. Kawhi Leonard won a championship for the Raptors, who have never won a championship before, creating his own lane, and now he's moved over to Clippers to win another championship, hopefully for a team that's never had a championship before. He doesn't have to compete against Magic Johnson, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jerry West, Kobe Bryant, Shaq. He doesn't have to compete against these guys because these guys are those guys. They've got their own lanes. They're Lakers guys. He's gone to the Clippers and he's going to win a championship for a team and a part of a city, a part of a state that have never won a championship before. It's genius. He's got his own lane. That's what he's doing. He's creating his own lane so he can be number one. How are you going to be the greatest player in LA when you've got literally 4, 5, 6 of the greatest players of all time have played for that team? And one of them is literally the logo of the NBA. The only way you can ever compete against that is to have your own lane where you are the number one star. And that will be at the Clippers. It's a genius move. It is the move that LeBron should have made.
I'm still KwakuDreaming.
Check out my blog, KwakuDreaming blog, and any more episodes at KwakuDreaming.com. Check out jakejohn.com for any details. Make sure to check me out on Jake John Music on all platforms, all social medias, and check out Jake John Music on any music site. Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Deezer. I'm on SoundCloud. I've put my music up for free on SoundCloud as well. Check out the stuff, share it. I'm gonna play some of that stuff on the podcast and just enjoy it. Also, if you want any jingles made, any sound bites, any soundscapes, just let me know. If you want to discuss any ideas or issues we just spoke about, I'd love to hear your story. Just let me know and I'll advise and share any way that I can. If you'd like me to speak at an event, just let me know. You can contact me on KwakuDreaming@mail.com. That's KwakuDreaming@mail.com. Respect, all love, enjoy yourself. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast.
I'm still KwakuDreaming.
Have you ever felt like a Mitch, afraid of the night, and everything you're saying turns around to be a vice? You listen to the hype of vicarious life.